In today's news, BVI included on UK quarantine exemption list.
Government receives a $40 million check from Social Security, and Social Security celebrates its 40th anniversary. All this and more when 284 News returns.
There's a reason you get up on a morning. A reason you pick yourself up, start the day. Maybe it's sheer grit. Maybe it's your ethics. Maybe it's because you know people like you are waiting for people just like you. We all have our reasons, and for Republic Bank, that reason is you. Every little thing, every big thing. It's all about making a difference in your life. Because after 182 years, if it's one thing we're sure about, is that the difference is you. We're here to help.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
I love you, Penny. Run, Forrest, run! What? Man, I'm sick of being in this house. I just want to go to the beach for all go just one day and gather to the garden. I'm sick of being in this house.
Having withdrawals from being stuck in the house for so long? Are you tired of looking at your old photos and daydreaming about your next vacation? Well, BVI Staycation is back, and there's so much to choose from. For more information on upcoming deals, follow us on Facebook at BVI Staycation. Get ready, BVI, for an adventure in paradise. It's time to vacation where we live.
Welcome everybody. It's Monday, July 6, 2020. I'm Ron Grant.
And I am Kyla Kenisha Forbes. Another beautiful day here in the British Virgin Islands.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have so much in store for you. Getting right into it on the local scene, last week the government of the Virgin Islands received a check from the Social Security Board of $40 million. Now the monies are expected to be directly used towards phase 2 of the economic stimulus package as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, in which the territory has seen hundreds of persons apply through the Social Security Board for unemployment. Premier and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Andrew A. Foy, in a Facebook post said, and I quote, "God is good. We now have in our possession, the full $40 million grant check from Social Security in order to help the people of the BVI with phase 2 of our economic stimulus response in the economically challenging times as a result of COVID-19. Present at the handover ceremony was the Director of BVI Social Security Board, Mrs. Antoinette Skelton, Mr. Eon Smith, Deputy Director of the BVI Social Security Board, Mr. Roy Barry, Financial Secretary, who is also not Financial Secretary, but he is also in charge of the NHI. Then we have Mr. Glenn Roy Forbes, who is the Financial Secretary, and of course, Premier and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Andrew A. Foy, and Minister of Labor, the Honorable Vincent Wheatley, with other senior civil servants present. Now, not only did they receive a $40 million check, but the Social Security Board is also celebrating its 40th anniversary last week, and I think it's so commendable, Kyla. This would have come before you and I's time.
Of course.
With the Honorable Hamilton Lavity Stout, who incorporated and saw it fit to incorporate a system of Social Security. But they are celebrating 40 years of the Social Security Board, and Director of Social Security, Mrs. Antoinette Skelton, and her supporting team observed the board's 40th anniversary since its inception. Mrs. Skelton said the Social Security Board has been the best initiative made by the government of the BVI. Minister for Natural Resources, Labor and Immigration, the Honorable Vincent Wheatley, visited the office and thanked the members of staff for their contribution, dedication, and hard work. Minister Wheatley also commended those officers who have been with the institution for 10 years or more. The Social Security Board was established by an act of the Legislative Council number 17 of 1979. It came into effect on July 2nd, 1980. The Social Security Board is a statutory body instituted with the vision to provide appropriate benefits of contributions to various families and employees through the leadership, prudent investment, and the sustained efforts of a highly motivated and committed and professional staff. Congratulations to Mrs. Antoinette Skelton and her team in celebrating 40 years of service, and definitely Social Security has served as a paramount statutory body for the people of the Virgin Islands.
Most definitely. Ron, if I may say so, that week was a week of the 40s, if
Yeah,
we can
definitely,
say that,
yeah.
for the Social Security Board. But I think the two stories really speak to the Social Security Board and the contributions that it has made here in the British Virgin Islands, because here we see the Social Security giving a grant towards the recovery because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and being able to grant our government with $40 million. That is an achievement, and we definitely want to thank the staff over at the Social Security Board and also the heads over there for doing such a great job. We definitely thank them.
And I must say this, Kyla, when it comes to the leadership and directorship of such a statutory body, similar to that of the Financial Services Commission, it cannot be an easy task. I cannot imagine that it's an easy task, but Mrs. Antoinette Skelton and her team continue to do superior work that allows the people of the territory to benefit in so many ways. So best of luck to them, and much congratulations.
Most definitely. Now, yesterday, which was Sunday the 5th of July 2020, the Valley Sound Lions Club have installed a new board for the 2020-2021 Lionesque year. The non-political service membership organization, which is the Valley Sound Lions Club, is a member of the Lions Club International, which was founded in October 10, 1917, and consists of over 1.7 million members worldwide. Ron, we have heard about the Lions Club for years.
Yes.
And now the following individuals will serve in their respective posts for this this club for the 2020-2021 Lioness year here in the British Virgin Islands, and more notably in Virgin Gorda, where this club is actually based out of. So here we see President Charlene Smith, Vice President Lori Jean Stevens, immediate past President and Secretary Shanique Cricky, Treasurer Franker Pickering, tail twister is Mr. Hakeem Cricky Tamer. We have Linda Plake, 1-year directors Ingrid Waters and Kimberly George. 2-year directors is Corinne George and Shireen Maduro, and membership director Vanessa Reimer. Now, the Valley Sound Club engage in numerous service projects which are based around the international club's global cause and the needs of our local community. The club has provided assistance to persons in need. In many instances, they have donated school supplies to public school teachers, partnered with like-minded groups and individuals on community efforts, and they have organized awareness campaigns related to childhood cancer, diabetes, breast cancer, Alzheimer's, amongst a list of other things. So we definitely want to congratulate this new board. We're sure they're going to do great things within our community.
Indeed. And Kyla, we've seen a lot of installations throughout the past week. We have the installation of the Rotary Sunrise Club of Rotom, Mrs. Kenesha Sprav, past president Miss Marie Hopkins, and then we have recently Rotaractors, Mr. Tamolji, who's being installed as the president. With Miss Stout being the immediate past president. And I don't think persons understand the importance of such clubs.
And service.
The Honorable Member for Health, the Deputy Premier of our territory, the Honorable Carvin Malone, is also a member of the Lions Club, as are many of others, and it serves as a very paramount importance to the structure of our very society in making sure that community service is consistent, and that persons who are in need are definitely met, and I applaud all community service projects for their long-standing work throughout the territory of the Virgin Islands.
Most definitely.
Still ahead, UK publishes UK self-isolation exemption list, and the BVI Health Services Authority, they're ramping up COVID-19 testing here in the British Virgin Islands. All this and more after a word from our sponsors. You're watching 284 News.
You want top of power?
You want top of power?
Join the prepaid party with CCT and enjoy more affordable data plans, more top-up promotions, more savings with hero bundles, and more value for your money each and every Tuesday with Top Up Turn Up Tuesday. Visit a CCT store today or anywhere CCT Top Up is sold and top up your phone.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You want top of power?
Is business slow, cash flow down, hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media at cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
Viewers, welcome back. You're watching 284 News. Continuing on the local scene, the British Virgin Islands Health Services Authority will now be offering COVID-19 testing to more persons in the community. Director of Primary Health Care, Dr. Natasha Frett, said over the past months, COVID-19 testing focused on identifying those persons that were infected with the disease, their close contacts, and persons at risk. She said, and I quote, identifying these persons and enforcing quarantine measures helped to stop the transmission of the disease. Now, the curfew restrictions also aided in controlling the movement of people and prevention of further transmission. Dr. Frett stated that presently there are no known cases but the relaxation of the curfew measures, repatriation of BVI lenders, and the reopening of businesses and services have increased the movement and persons in the community has created the opportunity for transmission. Now, she continued by saying, and I quote, it is important that we remain vigilant in practicing and enforcing and protective strategies put in place. Now, the BVI Health Services Authority, they acknowledge the rippling effects that this new normal has dictated in reshaping how we live. Therefore, we are extending COVID-19 testing to include persons needing a test for elective procedure and travel. Persons desirous of taking the test are asked to call the medical hotline at 852-7650 or email the covidrrt@outlook.com. Now, a minimum of 10 days prior to when the results are needed is necessary. This is according to Dr. Frett, and it is to ensure that the persons receive a scheduled appointment and their results in a timely manner. Now, persons will be charged, of course, for this fee. Kyla, we see where persons are constantly maneuvering and trying to get back to their perhaps home country, or particularly for medical reasons. In this particular case, we see where the BVI Health Services Authority are making provisions for persons who have special medical issues to get tested prior to. Of course, this is at a specific charge, so please contact the BVI Health Services Authority.
Yes, Ron, before we were only really and truly focusing on in-house because we were locked down and our borders were locked down, but now, as Dr. Frett said, our movement have now started to pick back up, and persons are traveling and persons are returning home to another island or to the BVI. So I'm really glad to see the BVIHSA really picking up and ramping up testing, because I think it's definitely something that we may need.
It's
and
very
really
necessary.
and truly, it's a really great transition into this next story.
Yes.
The United Kingdom government announced that 73 countries will be allowed to travel quarantine-free to England commencing the 10th of July 2020. Now, as a British overseas territory, the British Virgin Islands is actually on that list of countries and territories which will be exempted from the UK's mandatory 14-day self-isolation period upon arrival into the country. The list of countries as listed on the UK government's official website as for countries exempted for the 14-day quarantine period is available on our website, to make sure you can go over there and definitely check that list out. It's 73 countries, 59 listed, but the notice also stated that 14 of the British territories are also exempted. So many countries in the Caribbean, such as Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, the Bahamas, Dominica, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, as well as other Caribbean islands that are classified as British overseas territories, such as Anguilla, Montserrat, Cayman Islands, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Turks and Caicos, is right there on that list. Now, any traveler traveling from these countries do not have to self-isolate on arrival into England if these are the only places the travelers have been to or stopped in during the previous 14 days. However, persons must be aware that if persons transit through any country that is not listed on the exemption list, persons will have to then self-isolate upon arrival. So notably so, the United States have not been included on the UK exemption list. So you know that the UK is the US, is one of our transit points in some routes to the UK. Of course, you can go through Antigua, so that if persons are trying to get to England, that might be the best route if you are actually interested in that. But before travelers, both visitors and UK residents, before they arrive to the UK, those travelers must complete a passenger locator form, which can be found on the UK government's official website up to 48 hours before arrival. And then once arrived into England, will then present it to the competent authorities.
A very important story, Carla, as we see across the region and globally as well, different territories and countries are making provisions. And I think when it comes to the whole self-isolation exemption, it's quite important, because we cannot forget that the business of the economy continues. We cannot forget that money is continuously traveling. So if a person really and truly, when you think of it, and I want persons to understand how long 14 days can seem, if they are not engaged in business, or they're not family oriented, or they don't work. If you're a college student and you have 14 days just to sit and relax, then perhaps it's not as important to you as someone who is doing business and conducting business. But 14 days is 2 weeks. That's a long time to just be sitting.
That's vacation within itself.
Listen, that's a long time to just be sitting down and doing nothing. We need to drink bush tea, dumb bread,
and just wait.
coconut. Like, you just waiting.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the fact that.
And at the end of the day, I think countries in general are now competing for a tourism product, because it really depends on, really and truly, some persons have not stopped traveling. Some persons are willing to put up with COVID-19. So the faster countries are able to open and most convenient place to actually go to, there is where persons are going to choose to spend vacation. And really and truly, the UK is missing out on billions of dollars in tourism. So this country also has a tourism product just like any Caribbean island. And what they're calling it is actually a travel corridor.
Yes.
So to and from, persons can travel to the UK without quarantining. So they're trying something.
And then again, at the end of the day, it's a fight against health versus the economy.
Most definitely. So viewers, still ahead, the community mourns as body of Junior Peters was found at Horse Park. And of course, we have the USVI COVID-19 updates. This is 284 News, and we will be right back.
In the final analysis, we have two options: stay inside and create memories that will last forever, or go outside and say goodbye to those memories. We're not stuck inside, we're safer inside. The time is now to unite, embrace, and love each other from a distance. Show the world and the people in it just how much they mean to you by keeping your distance. It may be difficult, but necessary. Let's reintroduce humanity and heart to all homes. While we can't enjoy the sun, sand, and sea, let's take this time to remember why we are nature's little secrets. Stay inside, and when it's over, we would all be better, stronger, and we would all still be together. With self-discipline and patience, we can overcome. We are, have been, and will always be BVI Strong. A message from your team at 284 Media.
You want top of power?
You want top of power?
Join the prepaid party with CCT and enjoy more affordable data plans, more top-up promotions, more savings with hero bundles, and more value for your money each and every Tuesday with Top Up Turn Up Tuesday. Visit a CCT store today or anywhere CCT Top Up is sold and top up your phone.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You want top of power?
Is business slow? Cash flow down? Hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media@cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
Viewers, welcome back. You're watching 284 News. On Friday, July 3rd, family, friends, and colleagues of Mr. Junior Peters received the daunting news that the body of the Jamaican national residing in the BVI was found in the Horse Part area, Tortola BVI. Now, the middle-aged man had been missing since June 27th, with his tools and blood found at his last landscaping job at a residence close to where his body was located. Once persons, of course, learned of the news, many persons took to social media to echo their heartfelt sentiments. Mr. Peters, a well-known landscaper, worked for many persons in the territory, including the governor of the Virgin Islands, who spoke publicly about Peters' disappearance and single-handedly led the investigation team which was responsible for locating Junior Peters' body. Now, the circumstances surrounding the death of Mr. Peters are not only sketchy and scary, but they're still unknown, and police remain investigating the incident. Police are further appealing to anyone who may have informed their information pertaining to Mr. Peters' disappearance to contact Detective Inspector Vernon Lacroix directly at 368-9809 or the Major Crime Investigations team at 368-5682. Kyla, a very daunting story here in the Virgin Islands where we see where Mr. Peters, long-standing landscaper, he's worked for persons like the governor and many other not only residential clients but commercial clients throughout the territory of the Virgin Islands went missing. And I think persons don't understand the level of closure. As heartbreaking as it is, just to know that the body of your loved one has been located is just it's okay.
It gives you some closure.
Some closure.
And now on to the next step of investigation
what
as
happened?
to what really happened. It's really sad, as you said, to just know, as you said, persons took to social media, and it really seemed as though Mr. Peters were definitely.
He's a special guy.
He's definitely a special guy, and we definitely want
his clients loved him, his people loved him. But I want to bring attention to the governor of the Virgin Islands, His Excellency Governor Augustus Jaspert. And we don't see Governor Jaspert in such a position, in such a vulnerable position, very often. He's often very, for lack of a better word, respectfully, very structured, very reserved, very distinguished. But we saw our governor really taking to the forefront, and I must commend him. He single-handedly, and when I say single-handedly, led the investigation. I was on the scene, our reporters were on the scene, and he decided that he was not leaving until the body of Mr. Peters was found. And once he came out, there were scratches on his body because he was so determined to find Mr. Peters. And I think at the end of the day, while persons might disagree with some policies or disagree with his stance, when you think of a governor, when you think of someone who is long-standing and committed to country, committed to self, I cannot, and I may be wrong, but I cannot remember a governor being so
Such as,
hands-on
yeah,
and so
very hands-on,
personal and literally just doing whatever it took to
Yes.
find
Yes.
someone that worked with you. And I think that that speaks volumes. We interact with people on a daily basis, and we see them and we, you know, think whatever we can. But at the end of the day, these are human beings. They're fathers, brothers, you know, person that we interact with, and we have to be committed to self. And I commend the Governor of the Virgin Islands, Governor Augustus Jasper, and I also want to take this opportunity to wish him and his staff at Government House our sincere condolences on the loss of Mr. Junior Peters.
and a colleague.
Yeah,
It speaks
colleague
so
and a
much,
friend,
so
yeah.
much volume, as you said, leading that charge. So we definitely commend him for that. And once again, we see where a governor have stepped up to the cause once again. Yes, but as we move on to our very last story in this newscast, now, as of Friday, the USVI have confirmed an additional 14 cases. As of Friday, 3,170, that is 3,231 persons were tested. 112 persons tested positive, with 63 in St. Croix, 45 in St. Thomas, and 4 in St. John. One is now pending. The USVI has a recovery rate of 79%, unfortunately, with 6 deaths. Now, following the announcement of the new cases, the USVI's Department of Health is now tracking 29 individuals. Reports from the VI Consortium stated that VI Department of Health Territorial Epidemiologist Esther Ellis said that the number of coronavirus cases announced Friday night represents an outbreak, and residents should take guidelines that are put in place to help curb the spread of the virus very seriously. Now, Dr. Ellis said that to date, this is the most positives the territory have seen thus far in one day, which represents more than a 14% positivity rate for that day, which is very concerning. As she said before, she's encouraging persons to wear their masks, refrain from having big parties and gatherings, stay at home if you can, and she's asking persons who are vulnerable to the virus to stay home. But these are all things that we have been hearing. Ron, the USVI, as we know it and as we have been seeing, are implementing more measures. We've seen where they have relaxed them, but now with
and
things
pulled it back
it back. But now with this recent outbreak, they're really trying to clamp down on things. We do have more information on that, which will be presented in tomorrow's newscast. But we're definitely trying to keep up with what's happening over in the USVI, because we are so close-knit and so very close in proximity to the USVI. We must stay vigilant, and we must stay informed about what is happening with our neighbors over in the USVI.
Kala, the thought or the phrase, the age-old saying, you give a man an inch, you take a yard.
Take a mile.
Take a yard, take a mile, it comes to mind, and I know the governor of the U.S. Virgin Islands meant well as he implemented different initiatives, whether it was the beaches or the bars, and we have to understand the economy is at the center and the forefront, but I do want persons to understand the significance of really taking into consideration measures that are put in place. They are there for a reason, and I think that while we're trying to make money, while we're trying to progress, we have to be cognizant and try to be safe. And I think the U.S. Virgin Islands is a prime example. While the recovery rate is really spectacular, and the persons who might have contracted COVID-19, they seem to, recover very well. You have to be cognizant of the fact that some of our social gatherings that we are so accustomed to maybe have they may be needing to be tempered a little bit and adjusted just for the safety of all concerned.
We continue to commend the USVI for its recovery rate,
Yes.
but we must also remember that 6 deaths are too much.
6 too much, yeah.
And we just never know what may be next. And this outbreak should really be an eye-opener for the residents over in the USVI. But viewers, we will keep you updated on that as the days go by. But viewers, guess what? That is it for today's news roundup. I am Kyla Kenesha Forbes.
And I'm Ron Grant. We will see you tomorrow as we deliver your daily dose of local, regional, and of course international content. We're Twit for News, your source for honest and impartial news. Happy Monday, guys. Have a great week.